Welcome once again. This time we're doing 2nd John. We're doing the whole book of 2nd John. And you know, I think I'm going to go to 3rd John as well, because 2nd John is so short and 3rd John is short as well. So hey, welcome everyone who's just joining us. Welcome. This is live. So I'm going to be reading this live, commenting on it live, and taking your questions and your comments. So let's go on right on over to 2nd John. 2nd John chapter 1, actually there's only one chapter, so verse 1. The elder. Now obviously this is talking about John himself. He is identifying himself as the elder. To the elect lady and her children. Okay, so let me just stop there. So whenever we're reading a book from the Bible, any kind of document or any kind of extra biblical work, whatever the case is, we need to ask who is the author and who is the audience. We need to ascertain those things as best to the best of our ability. And so here the author is John, and the audience he did not identify. He just said to the elect lady. Now I know some people think that this is talking about the church, and some people think about, really spiritualize it in one way or another. I mean, really, I think John was really writing a letter to a specific lady. And the reason why I say that, because he said to the elect lady and her children, and he mentioned that again a little bit later on. So I don't think it's really talking about the church as the lady. I think he's actually writing to a specific lady. So going back to to the elect lady and her children, whom I love in truth, and not I only, but also those who have known the truth, because of the truth which abides in us, and will be with us forever. Okay, so notice John speaks about the truth so many times here, and he likes to talk in these kind of terms. If you notice, down in verse 3. Finally, he goes into the salutation here. Grace, mercy, and peace be with you from God the Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of the Father, in truth and love. So he gets right into this, verse 4. And don't forget as well, for those of you who are new, none of these books were ever written in chapters and verses. So when John wrote this, he didn't write like verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. He just wrote it all as one letter.
And again, for those of you who are new, the word epistle is just a fancy word that means letter. So when we say the epistle of John, we're talking about the letter of John. Verse 4. I rejoiced greatly that I have found some of your children walking in truth. Here we go again, talking about truth. As we received commandment from the Father. Okay? So here you notice that he is talking about the commandments, the commandment of the Father, synonymous with truth. And this reminds me very much of in the Tanakh. We read about how the commandments of God in the Torah are truth. Your law is truth. Your commandments are truth. Verse 5. And now I plead with you, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment to you. In other words, and this, like, look at this. He is very specific here, saying that it's not new. It's not a new commandment. And so if it's not new, it's old. And so, again, I can't help but say, as I read John here, it sounds so much different than Paul. And that is because John is so much different than Paul. You never hear Paul talking like this. You never hear Paul talking like how John talked. You know, John, he talked about how to love God is to obey his commandments. And he really puts a lot of emphasis on the commandments and obedience. Again, how much do you hear of that kind of tune played in the letters of Paul? Not very much. And now I plead with you, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment to you, but that which we have had from the beginning, that we love one another. Okay, so this commandment to love one another, when John said from the beginning, what did he mean by that? I don't believe that he's talking about, I know a lot of people could say, well, he's talking about the beginning of maybe his walk with the Lord, or the beginning of when he first met. Well, no, because if that's the case, the commandments would really still be new, okay? So the commandment to love one another, for those of you who know the Torah, goes all the way back to the Torah, and it actually goes all the way back previous to that of the times of Moses. We know that Moses wrote saying we should love one another, love your neighbor as yourself, and so on and so forth. But in the book of Genesis, we see that whole thing as well. I mean, right on back to Cain and Abel. The reason why Cain was rejected so much, the reason why he was punished so much, is because he didn't love Abel as he should have loved Abel. And so that commandment really does go all the way back to the beginning, just as John said. Verse 6. This is love. Now, you know what? If anybody asks me what verse in 2 John is like the key verse, if there's any verse that is more special, that really stands out, that's like the most important verse of 2 John, I would say this is the verse. This is love. This is love. There are so many people today talking about love, but they don't know what love is. It's defined in millions of different ways, and all too often anymore, it's defined in a wrong way. John defines love here. This is love, that we walk according to his commandments. Okay, so love according to God is walking according